You be taking notes because Carlene's not here?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, great, thanks. Thank you.
About to open the Board of Education meeting for the Norwich Public School System, September 13th, 2022. It is 5:34 p.m. I'm sorry for the slight delay. Heather, would you please lead us in a pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a minute as we have a moment of silence for the passing of our late brother, Queen Elizabeth. Thank you. All right. Item number 1.2, approval of the minutes of the Board of Education meeting held on June 14th, 2022. I'll entertain a motion.
Aaron Daniels, so moved.
Motion on the floor,
I'll second.
and we have a second. Any discussion?
Just- Yeah, I don't see any.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. I forgot to do with one thing. Amber,
Yes,
for the record, would you please do the roll call?
sure. We have Aaron Daniels, Mark Kulos, Gregory Perry, Bob Aldi, Joshua Chapman, and Heather Fowler. We do have a quorum.
We have three members that are absent: Christine DeStacio, Kevin Saitani, and Carlene Charmelis. And we do have a quorum. Thank you.
Yes.
Item number 1.3, approval of the minutes for the Board of Education special meeting on June 21st, 2022.
Mark Kulos, so moved.
Here a second?
Aaron Daniels, second.
There's a motion on the floor and seconded to approve the minutes. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Item 1.4, approval of the minutes on the Board of Education special meeting on July the 12th, 2022. I'll entertain a motion.
Aaron Daniels, so moved.
Mark Kulos, second.
There's a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? So voted. Item 1.5, approval of the minutes of the Board of Education special meeting, August the 10th, 2022.
So moved to approve.
Need a second?
Greg Perry, I'll second.
There's a motion on the floor. And we have a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? So voted. Let's start with the reports. Reports of the chairperson. I'll make it very brief. Here we are, we're back. 2022, 2023, September the 13th. Another brand new school year. Look, all those smiling faces. I want to see them smiling next May. Welcome back, everybody. I hope it'd be a very adventurous and great year for everyone here, including the board. I hope everybody had a great summer. Went through a lot of meetings, as you can hear, as you can tell. Some big things are happening. I'm sure you read it in the paper, and hopefully that things will progress accordingly. For those of you who don't know, our superintendent is currently home recovering from medical procedure, will not be able to attend tonight. So out of the bullpen, the ace.
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Other than that, convocation, I was unable to attend, but I heard it was a phenomenal showing. Barbecues that were held by the schools, pizza events, that went over really well. I only went to one, which was up at Moriarty, and it was a fun, exciting time for the kids and for the teachers and for the parents. Mark?
Just one comment. I'm a little miffed that Greg Balassi didn't grace us with his tuxedo tonight. You know, I fully expected for the first board meeting of the year that he'd be in formal attire, but you know, at least he's wearing a tie, so I'm happy with that.
All right. Next up, the report of the superintendent and the report of the assistant superintendent.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The report of the superintendent is posted and it's online. If you have questions, feel free to send those questions to me, and we'll get you answers promptly. There also in this folder contains the residency officer report and the human resource department report. However, I am going to take the time to acknowledge our recognition awards for the month of September. For the Key Is Me Teacher Award recipient is Elizabeth Liz Padilla. She is our district-wide staff multi-language learning instructional coach. This professional has made a huge impact on our work across the district for all students and teachers she has worked with, supports teachers and provides them with the right tools and strategies to make sure all students have inclusive, equitable learning experiences in their classrooms. Has always been a wonderful team player by sharing her expertise and supporting others' needs. She takes new teachers under her wing and guides them towards success in a natural way. She is always looking for resources to share with teachers and students, such as books for her personal library or digital innovative resources. She goes above and beyond when it comes to volunteering for extracurricular activities or after-school events on the community. So congratulations to Liz Padilla for her own hard work and continued dedication to Norwich Public Schools. Next, we have the I Make a Difference Support Staff Award recipient is Betsy Adams, which is at Veterans Memorial School. She's the administrative assistant. This professional goes above and beyond to make sure students, staff, and families are taken care of day in and day out. Excels at her position and takes the initiative to do whatever she can to make sure things are flowing without any issues in the office and in the entire school. Makes all veterans' families feel like their child is part of a safe and nurturing school. Wears many hats in her role and truly thinks about the needs of others, even if it falls outside of her traditional role in the school. She has touched so many lives over the years at Norwich Public Schools. She is most deserving of this award. Veteran School is lucky to have her as part of their community. Congratulations, Betsy. And then we also have the You Inspire Me Student Award. This awardee is Caden Peace, from Teachers Memorial Global Middle School, is a 7th grade student. Caden has had an absolutely wonderful start to his 7th grade year. He has arrived at school with focus and enthusiasm each day. He has been showing leadership in class by working cooperatively with his peers and by explaining what needs to be done to students who are uncertain. He has also shown an interest in understanding everything that is going on in all of his classes and in participating actively and appropriately. He has shown so much growth already in his approach to school from last year to this, and as a result, I'm extremely proud. Congratulations, Caden. So at that time, that concludes the superintendent's portion of the report. And if you have questions, again, you can send those questions to me and I'll make sure that we get those answered.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment on the residency officer report. It states here that since the inception of that program, 2 years and 8 months, that Ed has been on the job and he's now has an assistant. They have saved the district $7,200,000 in tuition and transportation costs for students that were inappropriately attending our schools. So that's a tremendous cost savings to the district.
Thank you. I feel like we need an applause for that one. Okay, and now off to the assistant superintendent's report. And so what you'll see is that it's displayed there, but in what's posted is that we have for McKinney-Vento 21 students who are receiving services through the McKinney-Vento grant. Also in the month of August for registration, our enrollment is 3,380 students. And what you're seeing here is just the number of students who came into the district as new students, whether it was inter-district, out of state, and then the other number, which you're seeing below the grade lines, are out of district, those who actually left. So in total, what you're seeing is a total movement of 956 students in the district. The other thing I would like to move to is school climate, where you'll see Walmart called the other day, and I couldn't contain this and keep it to myself, but I wanted to let you know that they are donating their additional school supplies to Norwich Public Schools. They are setting them up into sections of 9. So on Wednesday, we'll pick this up and we'll be delivering it to each of the schools. So. On the report, you will also see our behavior data. As you know, we do track our school discipline. And so we're starting off with a great start at the beginning of the school year. So kudos to our principals, our teachers, our staff, for all the operations that they've set up to make this year a success. And so one of the things that Dr. Stringfellow has commissioned is that now when our parents go to PowerSchool, the PowerSchool portal on your cell phone, you can see your child's discipline record right there. So when something is entered, parents will be able to see and have access to that. And if they need help with getting that set up, they can just contact their school family engagement and attendance coordinator, who will help and support them. October is Bullying Prevention Month, so just wanted to mention that. Some of our schools have already started doing an anti-bullying campaign, so more to come and you may hear more about that. And in terms of curriculum assessment and instruction, I just briefly posted just the SBAC scores that did come out in June or July. I know we shared that with you through the special meeting in July, but I did just put it there for our community. And I did want to highlight another positive. We have 598 students receiving services for English language. And of those students, we are monitoring 48 and 33 of them has been exited, which we did share with all of you in July. We started the year in August with a lot of professional development. The first, August 15th through the 18th, we had a Homegrown Institute, which is professional development centered around teaching of reading. The new teacher orientation that we had August 24th and 25th, and as was stated by our board chair, that we started the year August 26th with our convocation. And that afternoon, we also had a guest speaker, Mari Wrightington, who talked about engaging students and as well as working with students who have experienced trauma. And then last but not least, I just wanted to share 2 grants that we did submit to the state, which was our Alliance grant in the amount of 10 million, and then also our Family Resource Center grant in the amount of 100,000. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Tamara. Anything from the board? Item number 2.4, the report of the Director of Student Services.
Good evening.
Lisa, hello.
Good evening.
Good evening.
It's nice to see everyone, and I wanted to start first by thanking all of you and the entire school community, and all of the wonderful administrators who are here this evening as well. It's been an extremely warm welcome here to the Norwich Public Schools. I see just wonderful things happening across the schools, children in classrooms and the teachers happy, and I'm really excited to be here. So I wanted just to mention that this evening before my report. And so supportive that Jamie Bender is in the audience as well. So I'm really pleased to be here. So in board docs, you will see posted a couple of things in the report. There is a live link to the monthly out of district placement report, and that number is significantly down from historic numbers of, say, around 160 students. We're at 106, and always looking for ways in which to continue building our programming, so as to bring more students back to the Norwich Public Schools, and certainly that's always on our mind. We have 54 special education students enrolled in parent choice schools and 30 students enrolled at our Norwich Transition Academy. There is some additional details in the report specific to different notes about various schools. In the report as well, there's a brief report on homeschooling. We have 121 students currently homeschooled, and you can see kind of the breakdown of students that were homeschooled and came back, students who have graduated, etc. This evening, I also wanted to highlight for you some things that occurred in the summer, some really wonderful things. I was very fortunate to come to Norwich right at the tail end of the extended school year program, where Beth Hanlon took me around to see the students, get to meet some of the teachers, and I was really fortunate to see that wonderful work going on. The ESY program occurring over the summer had over 90 students with IEP supports participating. So wonderful, continued with their specially designed instruction in their classrooms. It was well attended and well received. I wanted to thank Kelly Campbell, our extended school year coordinator, for her hard work, and the team of teachers and paraprofessionals, and really the families too, for getting their children prepared and ready to come out for extended school year. I wanted to also direct your attention to some really good news about our Summer Dyslexia Institute that was tried out this year for students with the primary disability of dyslexia. This was grant funded, and we're looking for ways in which to expand this in the future, because you will see in the report significant progress of the 8 students that received the instruction over a 12-day intensive reading program that was systemic and multisensory. The instruction was individualized to the student, and it was in a one-to-one session. Students made significant progress, and you can see that in the chart included in the different skills. So we had pre-tests and post-tests to capture that wonderful improvement. So we'll be looking for ways in which to expand that as well into the school year and into next summer for maybe a larger institute with another grant. We are in the middle in student services in Connecticut, statewide special education data system, or CT-SEDS. And it's I know something that Mrs. Bender has discussed with you. It's now live. It became live over the summer, and we are working diligently to shift over from IEP Direct into this new state system for IEPs. And it is taking us, and it will take us quite some time to do that work, but we have a wonderful team working on that. We have 13 educators in the district as expert trainers and across the district and in buildings to help folks with this big lift. We are also working on the state new IEP template in this program, and IEP quality training, which we've already accomplished one training with our special educators, and that went very well. So we're looking to improve the quality of our IEPs as well as get into the state system. And that's next on the report. You can see August 30th was the date that we had our student services and special education faculty on that in-depth all-day training. In addition, I wanted to draw your attention to a couple of new things you're going to see from the Office of Student Services. At the end of the month, a new communication called The Latest from Student Services and Special Education will be sent out to faculty and staff. We will also have a family version of this sent out monthly, and this is intended to take a lot of our resources and the things that we're working on and inform families, but also for faculty and staff. Some of the things that some of our supervisors are hearing in the schools are something that, I'm hearing. I'd like to provide some additional resources and things for our faculty and staff, as well as an internal Google Classroom that we're going to use to post information for our faculty and staff as well. So those are some sneak peeks in the report to give you an idea of what's coming. And that concludes my first ever report.
Mark?
I noticed that the High Roads Middle High School, the Shiloh location closed. How has that impacted our students and the number of students that it's impacted?
So we are working through that process with the students placed there. We do have students currently placed there, and there are some investigations, if you will, going on at that school. So we're working through that process.
They've been placed at other schools though?
We have some currently in, but not as many as in other placements.
Okay.
Anybody else? It was a great report for your first one.
Thank you.
I assume we will get many more.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I have a very hard act to follow here in Norwich Public Schools.
Mhm. She's still with us until next October.
This
Right.
October.
Okay, next October.
Yeah, I'll another year, yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
I wasn't thinking of
Wasn't an error on your part.
negative. All right, item number 2.5. Report of the business administrator.
Good evening. I'm gonna have my report up on the main screen, but before I do that, I wanted to recognize a long-term employee, Paul Sass. He was the head custodian at the Uncas Elementary School. And Paul retired on August 19th of this summer after 36 years of serving the district. Paul has been I got used to saying was, because he's now gone. But he was the head custodian at Uncas since 1990, and he actually started with the district on February 3rd in 1986 at the Buckingham School, which is no longer there. So he's probably one of our longest tenured employees. I just wanted to publicly recognize him and thank him for his service.
Was that the guy who used to work at the boy shop in downtown Norwich? In the Norwich Bulletin? Sorry.
So all the traditional business operation reports are in your packet. I just want to focus on two areas, and one of them, as usual, is facilities. I've been here 16 months, and teachers is now my second boiler replacement project, and I hope it's my last one, and we deal with new boilers going forward. But just to refresh your memory, the boiler project began on March 4th of this past year, the day it failed. The design called for 4 new high-efficiency gas condensing boilers. Nutmeg Companies of Norwich won the bid, and they've been working all summer. The work included asbestos removal, demolition, and removal of the old system. All that has been done. And the school currently, right now, has no heating system. We have hot water, but no heating system. New concrete pads were poured the first week of September, for which the boilers will sit on. And one of our concerns was when would the pumps and boilers arrive? That had a very long lead time. They did come in on September 8th and the installation project has begun. There are two critical components that are still outstanding. One's the expansion tank, and that's fairly simple. The next one is a 10-inch air dirt separator. It's made by Spirotherm, and that's a critical unit, and it's fairly large. It's, I think, 9 feet 5 inches in size and weighs 958 pounds. So we received an email last week that that's scheduled to be arriving in Norwich early to mid-October. So it will take at least 2 weeks to install. So if we do calendar math, that'll push us to the end of October, having the heating system that's functional. So tomorrow is going to be a big day. We have a meeting with Van Zelm, who's our engineering design company, Nutmeg Companies, who's doing the installation. We found a company called AAA Mobile Boilers. They provide temporary heat to buildings of all sizes. Norwich Public Utilities as their gas-fired boilers, and Bob Castronova from City Purchasing. So we're hoping to have some contingency plans in place and some solutions should those two parts not come in by early to mid-October or even later. By state law, we have to have heat in the building, and I don't think we have a place to put 470 some middle school students. So that right now is probably my biggest concern. What we could do, there might be a way to hook the boilers up temporarily. They might be able to construct a temporary separator. One option would to be resize the separator. All the piping is 10-inch piping. It might be able to be reduced down to 8, but I'm not positive. We'll find out tomorrow. 6-inch and below might be a stock item. Everything larger than 6 inches is custom made. That's why it's taken so long to have this made with supply chain issues. And a new monkey wrench might come into works. In case you haven't heard, the railroad workers might go on strike on Friday. Amtrak's in the process of shutting down trains in anticipation of that. So I hope that doesn't affect this at all. And then we might be able to hook up a single boiler because it's early in the year and the school could run on that system. So I'll have more information tomorrow. Meeting's at 10, so hopefully I'll have a positive outcome from that. So that said, I'm going to bring you inside the boiler room as of yesterday. So those are two of the new boilers sitting on the pads. There's two more. All the demos work's been done, and Nutmeg will basically be able to get everything done before the end of this month, with the exception of the final hookup with the separator and the expansion tank. They've been very responsive, and they are a Norwich company. This is one of the workers. You see all 4 of the boilers, they're in there doing fabrication and piping. So if you have any questions regarding teacher's boiler project, I'd be glad to take them now, or we can wait till later. Oh, and this, I want to give you a visual of what this separator looks like. It's probably going to look like the one on the right-hand side. It'll be mounted in the corner of the room as opposed to being in the middle. So the 10-inch pipes come into the side, and it serves to eliminate air and dirt from the heating system and keep it balanced. And it is 9 feet 5 inches tall, so it's big. Oops. Now we're going to get to numbers, and I'm not going to go over every number, but we closed our year. The pre-audit year-end balance for the general fund was $2,880,155. Right now, our audit is underway, and the target completion date is the end of September. The next bullet points are rather important. We actually did make a deposit into the self-insured medical fund of $938,733. And last year, at this time, we were able to refund that fund to the tune of $2.7 million. So in the last 2 years, we've dumped $3.6 million into the medical fund. The target is to keep the self-insured fund up to 2.5 months times the average claim activity. So if we didn't have the funds available to do that, that would be a big budget impact over the last 2 years because we'd have to fund that money through our operating budget. So we've been very fortunate to be in a good position at year end to do that. We also made a contribution to our self-insured workers' compensation fund to the tune of $625,000. And that amount was the amount between the IBNR liability that the actuary contributes. So those events happen every year. So we're hopeful that in the upcoming year, claims will maybe start to slow down a little bit or not be as high as they have been. So if we didn't make those 2 deposits, our year-end balance would have been about 4.4 million. So we had a good year from a financial perspective. That year-end balance of 2.8 million also includes the 1.240 million that the Board of Ed pledged not to spend, if you remember back to the budget meeting, so we won't rehash that, but that goes back to the city. So our net remaining balance is 1.6 million, and the board had authorized the superintendent to request that the remaining balance be deposited into the non-lapsing fund. It did go before the city council last week, and they did refer that to the ad hoc committee, which will meet on September the 28th. So I just wanted to list a few of the accounts that had significant positive variances, and in total, salaries were almost $1.9 million under budget. And you'll see some of the categories were a little out of skew. We were way under uncertified staff. And that reflects the difficulty the district has had in hiring certified staff, and consequently, the substitute line items were up higher than budget and non-certified salaries. Tuition expense, which included a lot of special ed savings, and sped transportation were way under budget, along with unemployment compensation. Down below, you'll see the unfavorable items, and the only reason the health and workers' comp line items are that much over budget was because we made those large contributions to the fund. Otherwise, they would have been in the positive. The technology equipment and capital projects, those were over budget because we migrated 22-23 budget items into 21-22 in order to have the 0 mil budget impact. And vehicle fuel was up higher because of the cost of fuel. FICA and Medicare was higher due to the non-certified staff being higher. So that's a brief snapshot of where we will end the year, and hopefully the meeting on the 28th will go in a positive fashion for making that deposit to the non-lapsing fund. So every year we have to file with the state on September 1st our year-end financial report. It's called the EFS report. It's a very comprehensive financial data collection. We basically download every single line item in our operating budget, every account, and code them according to the state codes, and then upload it into their system. And the state changed their focus 4 or 5 years ago on expenses by school. And then they look at how these expenses are funded. They have look at local funding, state funding, federal funding, and private funding. And the state and federal and private fundings are usually all grants. And then they focus on expenses by major category. They spike out this data and look at total sped expenses and separate it between the IDEA grants and Board of Ed expenses. They look at tuitions in terms of out-of-district tuition and magnet schools and items like that, and transportation. So I just wanted to give you a brief view of what this stuff looks like. So these are the actual reports. So this is special education. This top, and it compares this year to last year on the state report to the state report. So you won't find the numbers in this exact configuration on any Board of Ed reports, because they take our information and put it into their categories. So and these are just, this 1.4 million is the expenses that were related to the IDEA grants that was actually spent in 21-22, not the total of the grant awards, but was actually expended. So we actually spent 23% more on the IDEA grants than we did the previous year. And one of the big ones was on instructional aid salaries. Teacher salaries stayed fairly flat. And if we go down to the Board of Ed expenses, that's what's down below here. You'll see that the Board of Ed actually spent 8% more, but also keep in mind overall, the SPED department was under their budget, so we could have spent more, but because of a lot of activity, outplacements coming back into district and students moving out and things like that, we actually were under budget. SPED tuition's pretty flat compared to the previous year. Big increase on the teacher salaries, certified salaries, 4.9 million compared to 3.9 million the year before. That's probably reflective of being able to hire staff in those areas and being back in school. The other category they look at is high school tuition assessments, and these are basically students that are tuitioned out. So we have 5 designated high schools. It's Ledyard, Waterford, Bacon, Griswold, and NFA. So that tuition rate is a blended average of the 5 tuitions. We actually spent 1.6 million less in tuition than the previous year, and that again is a function of maybe some declining enrollment and the efforts and activities of our residency officers making sure we're paying for Norwich students. This is for the intra-district magnet schools. We had enrollment increase of 39 students. They go to a variety of schools, and the tuition went up by 203,000 or 28%. And these are students who go to the Ledyard VOAG program in Ledyard. Their tuition of $6,823 is set by the state, and we had one more student than the previous year. So if you sum up all the tuitions, we ended up, I'm into transportation already. I went by that already. Sorry about that. But tuition for students, transportation for students within Norwich boundaries is just under $3.7 million. We actually transported more students this year than the previous year, and that would make sense probably from a COVID standpoint. Maybe kids were more comfortable taking the bus. Out-of-town magnet school transportation. This is a calculated amount. It's not, doesn't come off of an actual bill because of the way students are transported. So some of these numbers end up being an allocation based on calculations. We did lose 2 fewer students being transported. And the number of special ed students that are transported on Norwich vehicles of first students was 573 fewer, 5 fewer than the previous year. And this data comes from the SPED department and our bus company. And these are students going to other districts, not on special ed. It's the tech schools, Wyndham Tech if they go there, nor Grasso Tech and those type of schools that are outside the boundaries. So that was the total public schools transported. And again, it's a big number in our budget, just about $8.5 million. And then we actually do transport just under about 120 kids on to the private schools, St. Pat's, St. Joe's, and those schools. They ride our buses. So local funding, this is what comes out of the Board of Education budget, and they do a few subtractions. They subtract out the costs that we pay for adult education, and this is the $150,000, which is the calculated cost for transporting students to the private parochial schools and any health services that we might provide. So they come up with a net reduction of $386,000. Then they add back in what they call in-kind services. That's the dollar value put on services that the city of Norwich provides to the district without charging. It's things like crossing guards, legal stuff, and we get a very detailed breakdown from the city. So they add that back in. They also add back in the excess cost grant that we receive and the magnet school transportation grant that we receive. So we end up the total additions coming back of almost 2.275 million. So where did we end up with total local funding? We actually spent less than 1% more than the previous year. So I don't know if that's necessarily good or bad, but we're not spending way over budget, and that reflects in our numbers. So that's not a big increase over the previous year, $638,000. So that's Board of Ed funding. Then I just have two more slides. One is state funding is next. And these are all of the state grants that we get directly from the state. We actually spent 11.8 million. That includes the Alliance grant, school readiness and things like that. Those are two of the largest grants that make up the 11.8 million. We also get reimbursement for the state team mentor project, and we had a new grant this year called School Readiness Supplemental Administration Fees. Not exactly sure what that was for, but we were glad to get the money. Then we had another small grant for $5,000, and we have a teen outreach program grant that is funneled through Uncas Health. That is actually a state grant. So we spent almost $12 million this year of state money compared to 10.6 million from the previous year. And then the last one is federal funding. These are Title I, Title II, and a whole host of other grants that you see during the budget process. We spent 6.3% more than last year, $681,000. We also had a LEAP grant and two magnet school grants that were actually federal grants that were funneled through Kelly and teachers. So total federal spending on grant money was just under $12 million. So I know that's a lot of numbers, but I wanted to give you a flavor for the overall picture for the year and how this money was spent. So I'll stop there, and if you have any questions, I'd be glad to take them.
Rob, I just have one question when it pertains to the heater that's under, the boiler that's under repair. The construction of a temporary separator, I assume that's already been discussed.
No, we're discussing that tomorrow. See, we ordered these, the major components back in May, the end of May, before we had a contractor even selected. Once the engineering firm had gone through the heat load calculations and design specifications, and we knew what major products we needed, they were ordered. And everyone anticipated delivery potential issues with the pumps and boilers. No one considered, even though it was ordered at that time, considered that, gee, the separator could be an issue. And then the middle of last week, we got an email that said, oh, by the way, the separator's 4 to 5 weeks out. So we did some math and said, this isn't good. Because when we got the notice that the boilers are coming in and will be shipped and I'll be there Thursday, we did the yes. And then that was the monkey wrench. So we immediately scheduled a meeting when we could get everybody together to figure out what can we do.
I was just wondering if we knew if that was a feasible option.
Well,
or
we'll
not.
have to find out because I mean, that one unit is a little over $16,000. It's 9 feet 5 inches tall, weighs 958 pounds. So it's very important component of the system, and it keeps dirt out of your heating system, balances it, keeps the air out. I'm not a mechanical engineer, but I know a little bit about it. So anything that's temporary can't jeopardize the integrity of the boilers and the heating system. And what complicates it is there is no heating system now. It's all been dismantled. So I'm optimistic. We have good people, and haven't lost sleep yet, but it's high on my list right now. So I hope this is my last replacement boiler project.
We hope so too.
All right,
Can we ask Bob how you can help us?
so the year coming up, we're well positioned as far as budget goes.
Yes, and the process is gonna be much different than last year. There'll be, we're properly staffed now. We'll have more involvement and interaction with our administrative staff and their building levels. We actually have people working on the budget now to ensure that the people who are hired match what's in the budget, that they're in the right school, and it's been such a moving parts or all over the place. I need to know early October where we might stand from a salary standpoint. And we'll start to know the tuitions in October. Everyone uses October 1st as the census date for doing their billing, so we don't know the final numbers as far as students who are attending outplacements, designated high schools and things like that. And then my new best friend, Lisa, is a very important person in this budget process because she has an area that I refer to as financial roulette. Big things can happen in a good way and bad way when it comes to the dollars, from students moving in or out, placements changing and needs changing. So last year I didn't have a sense of where we were until, say, late December, early January, and I think that's too late. I wanna know sooner. So we're getting systems in place to do that.
And then as far as talking moving targets, fuel costs, I know bus fuel is going down, gasoline's going down presently, but as we go into heating season, God knows what that's gonna be.
Yeah, and one thing that we're gonna have to look hard at is our bus contract expires in June of this year. If we're gonna go out to bid for it, we really need to get that bid out in October or November at the latest because of the capital situation. If we wanted to attract more bidders to the project, they would have to know 8-9 months in advance because they might have to acquire buses. Just like we can't get parts for this, or if you try ordering a car, it's very difficult to order 90 buses. And we roughly run 91 buses a day of the 2 different sizes, so you might not have anyone else bid on the contract. We might explore preliminary option of potentially extending the contract and bring that before the board. Another complicating factor is the talk of electric vehicles. Do we want to commit to a 5-year contract when we don't know what the future is going to be in terms of vehicles, what type we'll be using? The same concerns we have, the bus companies have. So that's a big concern for the 23-24 budget because that's an $8 million contract.
Right, because that all depends on state, federal mandates that possibly would come in. And you're moved out of your garden apartment now and into a different,
I'm in the penthouse at Bishop,
okay.
and the elevator still doesn't work, as Janet and Kristen can attest to. It's been 5 months because we're waiting for parts, and one of the critical parts is a circuit breaker of the right size. We need a 150 amp breaker. We have 175, so it can't get certified until we get that, and the control company is still waiting for that. So the supply chain issues affect us every way, from feeding our children the meals that Aaron would like to serve to heating schools.
Anything else? Okay, moving on. Public comment.
We don't have anyone signed up.
Is there anybody out there that wants to speak during public comment? Anyone want to speak during public comment? Mrs. Romansky, have the floor.
Do you wanna read the
He
statement?
hasn't finished heard you. He's gotta read you the statement now.
Which really hurts because I wrote it.
That's right.
ready.
The board welcomes public comment as it represents an opportunity for members of the public to express their views to the board on matters within the board's authority. On behalf of the board, I wish to remind those offering comments that, consistent with our bylaws, we ask that speakers please limit their comments to 3 minutes, and there is a maximum of 30 minutes for each subject matter. All speakers must maintain appropriate standards of decorum. No boisterous or inappropriate conduct is permitted. We expect comments to be respectful and civil in tone, and we do not permit name calling, raised voices, or vulgarity. All comments must be directed to the board and not to any individual board member or individual member of the administration. As noted, public comment is your opportunity to convey your views in the board or to the board, but it is not a question and answer session. The board and the administration will not be responding to questions or engaging with dialogue during the public comment period. The board and the administration will determine whether and how to address the questions that arise during public comment period. And lastly, when you come to the microphone, please state your name and address for the record. Heather?
Heather Romansky, 297 Scotland Road. First, I'd like to thank the district and board for their attention to the matter I spoke about at the June Board of Ed meeting. I'm grateful for the video that was created by Ms. Dietrich, as well as the clear and specific messaging that has been made available to students and families at Global. And I can only speak to Global because I got one kiddo left in PS. I'm also grateful for the opportunity to demonstrate and model for my kiddo the way to address an issue and to affect change. So I'm grateful for the opportunity that was provided to us. That being said, the discipline policy is on your agenda tonight for first read. And I'm respectfully asking you to thoughtfully consider this policy as it is up for your review. Particularly section 6-8-5. I understand that the policy has been reviewed by legal, but it seems like that particular item maybe should say email and not letter. Since I spoke here in June, I've been contacted by other families who are also still waiting for their letter. Finally, I know that there was a focus on training on the enforcement of the discipline policy at the admin retreat in August. Please ensure that the policy is followed consistently across all of our schools. I'm very aware that this is public comment and not a time for dialogue, and I'm happy to provide more information if you have any questions on what I'm talking about. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else for public comment? Anyone else for public comment? Anyone else for public comment? Public comment is closed. Item number 4.1. And our packets are online, is the first read of the model policy updates to student discipline. This will come before the board at the October meeting for a vote. Item number 5, committee reports. Anything on the budget expenditure? I have nothing. City Council and Board of Ed Ad Hoc Committee report.
We're supposed to have the ad hoc Zoom meeting on the 28th to discuss what we're going to do with the surplus from the past year. And then if I may comment on the negotiations, we're starting teacher negotiations, and we're still in negotiations with the food service workers a year later. Hopefully we'll get some traction on that and get that going again. Policy committee, Kevin is away. And I believe Dr. Stringfellow reported that she's going to be doing a deep dive into policy, weekly meetings with legal to review the entire board policies.
You know, Kevin's not here. I know you sit on a policy committee.
I do.
Whatever happened to the policy regarding the meeting, times in the meetings for Board of Education? Is that coming up?
Updated it. Yeah,
I'm sorry?
it's updated.
That was updated.
I was?
You made it to what we are doing now.
Okay,
Right.
that I remembered, but that
We
wasn't there,
changed the bylaws.
wasn't there, I'm sorry?
We changed it in the bylaws.
I know that.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a discussion to look into it again to increase the hour of start time? Or am I thinking about another committee that I'm on?
As far as I know, no.
I know that you had moved public comment later to see if that would help the parents, but I don't remember if I believe it changed in the bylaws to the time we are having it at now.
To 5:30.
Yeah.
I thought there were some
Did you want it to start at a later time? Is that what you?
That was there was some talk about having it maybe start at a later time. And I thought it was brought before or
We
turned
said
over
that
to
we
the
would talk about it.
policy committee to.
Well,
maybe-
I think the policy committee, we discussed that and the fact that the principals and administrators and central office staff, they're here since early in the morning and they, to attend this, to have it later would be cutting into their family time. So try not to keep them at, to get them out at a reasonable hour.
All right. School building committee.
Again, I sit on that and the school building committee, I believe we're supposed to have something
Tomorrow,
tomorrow.
no, the 15th.
Thursday.
Thursday.
Thursday, yeah, there's gonna be a Zoom meeting with basically board members, school committee, city council, as far as what the limitations are on us for advocating or supporting or not supporting the bond referendum.
And I did get an email this afternoon from from city manager's office. However, I did not see every board member on there.
Well, that's something you're gonna have to,
That's correct?
It's for you to share with the members of your board.
Do have it on the board, shared calendar if anybody is interested.
Thank you. Otis Library.
I have a meeting coming up with the Otis Library. I did miss the last one due to some summertime
Fun.
typical, summertime
Family
fun,
fun.
right? But normal, great activities, great programs going on and awesome employees down there as always. I know that they have great turnouts at most of the programs that they're running right now, so hope to continue that.
Integrated Day Charter School.
Nothing to report at this time. I was not able to attend the last meeting.
The NFA liaison, which is myself, I also was unable to attend their last meeting, which was last week, due to another commitment. And lastly,
Learn's first meeting is the 23rd, so.
Thank you.
Ready to go.
Maybe You must be a part-time Uber driver or something. Cell phones or. Board reports. Anybody have any other board reports they want to share tonight? Hearing none, the additional reports are posted to the website. Anybody has any questions?
So brings us to the last.
Yeah, last item on the agenda is motion for adjournment.
Make a motion that we adjourn.
Motion on the floor.
Josh Chapman, I'll second.
And a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, everybody.
See you.